Hey everyone, welcome to episode 15 of the WoolJewel Podcast. My name is Caitlin, and this is my knitting podcast. I also have a little bit of weaving and spinning and dyeing to share today, if you're into that. I'm coming to you from Steinwenden, Germany, where I live with my husband and my cat. Today is August 1st, and it is pretty overcast and rainy, so if there's like background noise or it gets really dark, I apologize in advance. Yeah, I actually am really enjoying all the summer rain that we've been getting. It's been really awesome. I live in a third floor apartment and it can get really hot because we don't have AC here, so it's been really nice actually. If you want to get in touch with me, Instagram and Ravelry are the best way. I am WoolJewel, one word, on both of those platforms. And you can join our Ravelry group, which is WoolJewel Podcast. I will put a link to it in the video description. I have just a few things before I want to get into the main part of the episode. So I have a couple knit-alongs going on right now. The first one is the Any Sock Will Do KAL. So if you are a sock knitter and you don't have any other sock knit-along that you're entering them into, you can enter it into mine. So there's pretty much no rules other than no double dipping. All of the info can be found in the Ravelry group. I am not gonna get into all of it right this moment, but that's gonna be running through the end of the year. So you've got lots of time to knit lots of socks. And I have a new knit-along that I'm starting right now. It's going to run until Halloween. Halloween is my favorite holiday, so I really wanted to do something to kind of get amped up for it and to celebrate because I love it. So I am starting the big, scary knit-along. I want you to knit something or create something or do something that you're afraid of. The rules can all be found in the Ravelry group, but it's pretty much open to anything because I just really want people to push themselves and do something they're afraid of. I feel like I'm not afraid of a lot of things with crafting and knitting, but there are a couple things. So I just kind of wanted to give myself a little push to do them. And the first one is to knit a really complex cabled garment. I'm afraid of doing that. I'm afraid of using charts instead of a written pattern, mostly just because it's unfamiliar to me. I am a little bit afraid of steeking. I'm a little bit afraid of free knitting, so just saying I'm gonna make a sweater and just like cast on and do it. I'm afraid of frogging some really old finished objects that I've been meaning to frog for a very long time. I'm a little bit afraid of taking projects that were my grandmother's, and she's passed now, so my mom gave me some of her old projects to maybe finish them or do something creative with them, and I'm kind of afraid to touch them. They're just sitting in a bag, and I don't think that that's really good, so yeah, just that kind of thing. I know a lot of people are afraid of brioche. Don't be afraid of brioche. Or just trying new things in general. So this is gonna be good for that. It's gonna run for 3 months, and I will make a separate post or video or something with all of the official rules, and you can also find all of the official rules in the Ravelry group. So I hope everybody gets excited for that. I don't have prizes yet, but I am going to keep an eye out for things that might be awesome to give away for that. If you are somebody who wants to donate a prize, send me a Ravelry message. Okay, I'm almost done with the boring stuff. A couple announcements. I am going to be at Berlin Knits at the end of September. I think it's the last day of September and the first day of October, but I will be there. So if you're gonna be there, let me know. Definitely come say hi. I will also be at Rhinebeck, which I am really excited about. I don't have my flights yet, but I do have my lodging set up for Rhinebeck, so yeah, I've never been. I'm really excited. I have a lot of like frantic sweater planning that I'm doing just for Rhinebeck, so I'm really excited about that. So yeah, if you're going to Rhinebeck, definitely come say hi if you see me. I would love to meet you. And today I have a question of the day. So I want to know if you've been to Rhinebeck, what is your favorite thing about Rhinebeck? And if you have not been to Rhinebeck, have you been to any other fiber festivals or knitting festivals? Which one was it? And what did you like about it? I would love to check out all the different ones that I can and go to as many as possible. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna get into finished objects now. So today I'm actually wearing an old finished object, and if you can't tell, it is my Penguono. I'm gonna take it off and hold it up so that you can see it. So this project is really special to me because it was, I don't think it was my first Stephen, it definitely wasn't my first Stephen West pattern, but it was my first pattern where I just tried to really let loose with colors and use scraps and tried not to care so much, because a lot of things I would like really plan out colors and I'd be really worried about it, and it was really difficult for me to let go like that. Like this project, I remember knitting this part and I wasn't liking, like this yarn, it kind of looks red in the project, but in the skein it just looked like a bright pink, and I didn't like that it was looking red, and I wasn't liking this whole panel pretty much, but I just kind of had to trust the process of being random, and it worked out. I know a lot of times when I knit things with lots of colors, it never, like a lot of times I'm not really into how it looks in that moment, but the more colors you add to it and the more you do, it all just kind of like blends and ends up looking better. Because when you've only knit a few inches, you're really focused just on that one part and like how this one thing looks, and like these two colors might totally clash, but when you add 6 more colors and the whole thing clashes, then nothing clashes. So I don't know, if you are like afraid to use color like in this way, just trust the process. Like don't be fixated on what's happening in that moment, and you're not going to be able to visualize the bigger picture if you're trying to be really random. So just like keep going. It's an experiment and you can always frog it and change it, but at least give it a chance, because every time I've taken a huge chance with my knitting, like color-wise or whatever, I'd say like over half of the time it pays off. So you never know if you don't give it a chance. I think for those of you who would like to knit with a lot of color but just haven't yet for those reasons, my Big Scary Knit Along might be a really good chance to do that for you. So this week I do have an actual finished object, but unfortunately it's the test knit, and I'm not really sure what I was thinking before. I thought I'd be able to show it this week because the deadline was yesterday. Today's August 1st and the deadline was July 31st. So I figured, oh, perfect, I'll be able to show it if I just film the next day. But I wasn't really thinking, because like the test knit deadline was the 31st, but that doesn't mean that the pattern is released the very next day. So I can't show it until the pattern is actually released, but I will show you just different ways that my yarn has knit up. Like I said, this is my own personal hand dyed. I don't really have a name for the colorway because I only created it just for this project. So here's a garter section. Overall, it's like a really neutral color, but then when you look up close, there's a lot more going on. So yeah, so that's it. That's just a few different of the textures that you'll see in it, but I'm really excited to show it off. And if the pattern is released, well, it should be released by Berlin Knits, but I'm planning on wearing it to Berlin Knits. Yeah, so that's all I've got for finished objects today. I will get into whips now. The first work in progress I have to show is a pair of vanilla socks. Not super exciting, except that the yarn is pretty exciting. I love it. This yarn was dyed by Anna from the Dunkelgrün podcast. She donated one of the prizes for the Great Unravel, and she sent as a gift this yarn for me, and the colorway is called Creeper in My Backyard, which I'm not sure, but my friend Michelle pointed out that these colors are the same as the things called creepers in Minecraft. So Anna, tell me if that's why you named it this, because these colors are spot on if that's what it was. I don't know anything about Minecraft, but I don't know, that's what she told me. So it's kind of this fluorescent green with a dusty gray and dark speckle. And I love that this colorway is kind of spiraling up the sock in a really stripy way. Yeah, so it's been really fun. I actually am using a size 2, US size 2 needle. And I usually use a US size 1 for myself. So knowing that it's a bigger needle, I cast on fewer stitches, like a lot fewer stitches. I think these are 40 something stitches around, and they're still massive on my feet. So, and like the only reason I used the size 2 needles was because I couldn't find one of my size 1 circulars. Like, it's the stupidest reason. I didn't want to wait to find the other needle, so I just used these instead. So since they're way too big for me, I had Ben slip one on, and they fit Ben pretty well. So I'm just gonna knit it a little bit longer than I planned and make these Ben socks. And luckily I have one of the like cardboard feet that you make for the Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern. Some of y'all might know that Ben left for deployment last week, so he won't be here to try them on, but I've got his cardboard foot, so I'll know when to turn the heel. Yeah, so thanks again, Anna, for this yarn. This is actually only about half of the skein. I got rid of my ball winder because it just really sucked. It just sucked. So I'm saving up to get like a legit ball winder that is perfect. But so I wind it by hand, and I know that most of the socks that I make are not more than 50 grams. So I just balled up by hand 50 grams in a center pull ball. And I always do 2 at a time from one ball. So I pull from the inside and the outside. Yeah. I don't mind winding by hand so much, but if I don't have to wind the whole ball of fingering weight yarn, then I'll just do half, because it does take longer. The next work in progress I have to show, which is living in my Fringe Supply Co. field bag. Oh yeah, and my pins I've got right now are my knitting girl with her ball of yarn, and the avocado, and my Bien Aimee pin that I got when I went to Paris. And Dwight Schrute is always with me at all times. So I am making the Tegna. I actually cast it on. Okay, I just had to stop filming completely just to untangle this. It's a mess. So here it is. It is a really lumpy, lacy mess, because that's just how lace is until you block it. But I will do my best. This is a bottom up kind of cropped t-shirt. And this is kind of what the lace looks like. It's really, I'm sorry that my background is white and this yarn is so light, so it's really hard to see. It's really beautiful, and I love this yarn. So I'm knitting from 2 balls and changing every row, because I got 4 skeins of this, and 2 of them are more heavily speckled than the other, so I'm alternating a lightly speckled with a heavier speckled so that I can avoid pooling and that the speckles are just more evenly distributed. This is Bien Aimee, and I don't remember what the base is called, but it is alpaca and cashmere and silk, I think. I can't remember if there's merino in it. I'll put the info down below. This is the first time I've done like this much lace all at once. So I originally cast it on my size 4 Addies, but with the regular tips, which are kind of blunt. And I've never had a problem using a blunt tip, even with the lace that I have done. But in one of the first rows, you have to knit 4 together. And I tried it one time and I was like, I cannot knit on this with these needles. I just know that I knew I was gonna get super frustrated trying. Like, it was possible, but it was really not fun trying to knit 4 together with those tips. So I ordered the lace tip size for Addies. I am a hardcore Addie person. If I have the option in my needle stash to use Addies over something else, I will always choose the Addies. And just like now, if they weren't right, I will just go buy more Addies of a different kind to make it right. I don't know, I really like how smooth the needles are, and I like the cables. They do have different kinds of cables. Like this gold kind is usually more tightly coiled. So if I can find the kind that's red, like this, or the kind that's light blue, those are usually better. And I have the Addie interchangeable set that Ben got me as a gift before. This, I did not mean to make this into an Addie review, but that's just what's happening. But I super, super love my Addie interchangeable set. Just saying. If people want to know more about the Addie interchangeables and why I like them and stuff, I'd be happy to do like a review video or something. I actually had one episode several months ago where I just kind of like went on this huge tangent talking about Addie needles. And when I was editing the video, it was like 30 minutes of me talking about Addies. So I just took the whole thing out because I was like, that is too ridiculous, and I didn't want to go through all of it and pick and choose like only certain sentences to leave in the episode. So I just took it all out. But I really love Addies, and yeah. So anyway, this is the Tegna, and it's really pretty, and I can't wait for it to be done. I love it, and it's really soft. Yeah. After I got through this huge chunk of lace, it has kind of taken a backseat for my next project I'm going to show you, which is another test knit. I can't say no to test knits. I don't know why I keep signing up for stuff, but this particular one, I just like already had yarn that was good to use it on, and it was already something that I'd seen. I was like, oh, I want to make something like that someday anyway. So I figured, hey, why not just do the test knit? This is a sweater called Blythe, and it is by Paige. I don't remember her last name. I don't even know if I know her last name. But her Instagram account is Knit Diaries, and she makes such cute stuff. Like, she's really stylish and always has really cute stuff that she's knitting, and like she's made a lot of her own things, like made and designed a lot of her own things to wear, but hasn't created patterns. Like, she hasn't released any of her designs as patterns, so I think this is the first one. And right now it kind of looks like nothing. It's an oversized sweater with a drop shoulder. So right now, this is what I've got. It's just big panels right now. So I'm using this commercial DK merino made by Schockenmeyer, and I don't remember if I showed this on the podcast before, but I think I have it in my first Wool Booty video. But I got 11 50-gram balls of this at a local yarn shop for 25 euro. They were clearing off space to make room for all their fall and winter yarn that was coming in, so everything was like half off. And this was 5 something to begin with, so I got each ball for $2.50, and I was gonna buy 10 of them, and then there was an 11th one sitting all alone on the shelf, and so the lady at the shop just gave it to me, which was really sweet. So I have a lot of this yarn, and I knew I wanted to make a sweater with it anyway because I love mustard. It's like one of my colors, and this is my go-to fall color. So I'm really excited to have this, and it'll be done very soon. I started this like 2 or 3 days ago. Yeah, it's knitting up really fast because it's on DK and it's on size 8 needles. This is also on my Addy circulars. It's a really cool sweater. I'll try to insert a picture here, but the drop shoulder seam has fringe attached, and I love fringe, so I couldn't say no. I've been wanting to make a really fringy sweater anyway, because I love fringe. And I think that's a really good spot to put it, on that shoulder seam, because it doesn't really get in the way. Like I've seen fringe like at the bottom hem of something, or like on the sleeves, and it just like gets everywhere, it gets in the way, it gets caught on stuff. But I think that like right in the middle right there is gonna be an awesome place to have it. I couldn't get gauge with the yarn that I have, even though I tried several different needle sizes, and the pattern calls for a size 8, and I really liked the fabric of the swatch I did with the size 8s the most. So even though my gauge didn't match, I decided to use those needles anyway and just adjust the stitch count. Also, the sweater pattern is a 1 size pattern because it's so oversized, so it was really easy to make adjustments because it doesn't really have like a whole lot of shaping going on. It's mostly just, I had to do some math for the stitch count for the neck opening. So yeah, I'll be excited to show that off when I'm finished with it. I think that's all I've got for works in progress right now. So I'm going to get into Woolly World, which I think I haven't done in months. I've shown a little bit of spinning and or dyeing and or weaving kind of on its own in fluff stuff, but I have all 3 of those things to show, so I'm doing Woolly World today. A few episodes ago, I mentioned that I wanted to weave a bag on a box. So what you do is take a box and you warp it like a loom. So you're kind of creating this 3D loom, and then you weave around the box, and then you have a woven bag. So I ordered this little booklet, How to Weave a Bag on a Box. It's like the squirrel character and a dog character. It's really cute, but it's by Sarah C. Sweat. And I got this on Etsy. She does not have a digital version for sale. There are people on the internet who have done this and have tutorials on blogs and YouTube and stuff, but I thought this was really cute. And as far as I know, she was the first person to kind of do this or like turn it into a thing. So I wanted to get instructions from her directly, and it has all these adorable illustrations and stuff. I'm not gonna like show too much, but I have gotten about halfway through doing the warp. So I'm using this Amazon box. It's like kind of a skinny rectangular shape, which I thought would make a good handbag size. So I'm almost done warping it, and just the way it works, you have to weave a little bit on the bottom to be able to get part of the warp done. So that just started taking a long time, and I kind of lost some steam. And also I've got a lot of other projects that I'm just more excited about. So this will kind of be like a more long-term thing. I'm not always in the mood to weave, but I'm always in the mood to knit, so my weaving always takes a long time no matter what I'm doing. Yeah, and the yarn that I'm using on the bottom of that it's special to me because this was my very first acid dyed yarn. I had dyed yarn with Kool-Aid before, but this was the first time I'd used acid dyes. I think it's really pretty. I was pretty proud of myself for my very first acid dye experiment, but I don't really like the wool. That's not true. It's just a really toothy worsted weight wool, and I don't use a lot of worsted weight, at least not recently, so it's just kind of been sitting there. I didn't know what to do with it, and I don't mind a more toothy rustic wool, but I don't really have a lot I would want to knit with just one skein, so I've kind of just been either waiting for something else to do with it, or like maybe felt it, or waiting for something to pair it with, and I just like haven't yet. So I just thought that the box bag would be a good use for it. I'm only gonna show it if I make some real progress on it, so I don't know, maybe we'll see it again in a few months. Yeah, so dyeing wise, I have a little bit of a failure. I thought it would be fun to dye some roving because I have pounds and pounds and pounds of wool roving sitting in my yarn room because I like to buy it in bulk because it's way cheaper that way. So I buy it like 30 pounds at a time. Because before I was like selling those big chunky arm knit blankets. Since it's summer and not a lot of people are buying those blankets, I just decided to break off a good chunk of it and try dyeing it since I'm into spinning now. So I'll show it to you. It's not that great. So here it is. I don't know, it's like really dingy, which I'm kind of bummed about because I would have liked to have like a real white in there, and it's not nearly as vibrant as I was hoping for. I'm not really sure which variables I need to change to get it more vibrant. I am glad that I did not felt it. I did have to move it more than I was comfortable with just because of stuff that happened, but it did not felt, which is great. So what I was going for was this forest green. I got like one chunk of some real forest green in there, and I had chocolate brown, and the chocolate brown started to kind of spread through different parts of the wool, and at the edge of it, it was breaking in this like fuchsia color, which I thought was really pretty. So I didn't want to mess with it. So I really liked the idea of having all the chocolate brown to kind of be surrounded by this fuchsia. I'm just not sure why it didn't take. Like the weight of the wool and the amount of dye that I used, I feel like it should have been vibrant, and most of it exhausted. And I don't know, I'm wondering if maybe the temperature wasn't high enough. I figured since I've dyed a lot of yarn that it couldn't be that different of a process, but I guess it was. I don't know. It's not the worst. So I think this is like 115 or 120 grams. So I think I'm gonna spin this and see what it looks like. And I think that it's gonna be more muted once I spin it, because that's just how it goes. Then if I want to like over dye it after I spin it, or maybe like ply it with something that is vibrant, then that could be an option. So yeah, that's my roving dyeing experiment. I should have started with a smaller amount, but I was convinced that I was gonna do a really good job, and that I would immediately want to spin it and do something with it, but that just didn't happen. So yeah, it's okay. I just wish it wasn't dingy. So that's all I've got for dyeing. The last thing I've got for Woolly World is spinning. And if you watched my wool booty video, which for those of you who don't know, I am starting wool booty as like a separate vlog series, because a lot of times I run out of time on the podcast and I don't want to just talk about shopping for yarn or like things that I've gotten as gifts, because I know that a lot of people aren't into that. Like they just want to hear about the projects. So I'm just leaving that separate video series. So I showed this roving on Wool Booty #1, and this is roving that I got from a local spinner, dyer, fiber artist woman. Her name is Karen, and I don't think that she has an online shop, but I just sent her Facebook messages and asked her to sell me things. So yeah, I've already kind of broken it up into smaller chunks to get ready for spinning, and this is about as far as I've gotten. By the way, I don't know if this is something that people do, but I have discovered, like if you're new to spinning and you don't know any little tricks and stuff, when I was first starting, when I wanted to put my spinning down for a while, I would put it on the spindle and then I would wrap it a million times around this hook to kind of hold it. But that never really worked because whatever was left on the end would, the spin would like travel up further into the roving than I wanted it to. So what I've discovered is that if you just wind it onto your spindle, if you kind of spread the wool apart right at the point where you would pinch it, I'm sorry, this is really hard to show, but if you spread the wool apart a little bit and just lay it down on itself, the fibers grab each other and it stays there like Velcro, and the twist stays right where you put it. So that's just that's a little thing that I've been doing, and it has really worked for me, because that was my biggest problem before when I was wrapping it around here, was there would always be like this part in the yarn that would have a different twist or a different thickness, just because I couldn't get it the exact same twist that it was in all the other parts, because it had been like sitting there and the twist was doing something differently. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to talk about this stuff because I'm so new to spinning, but this has really worked for me. If you're not really sure what I'm talking about, just like try it and you'll see. But just where I was pinching it before to keep the twist from going up, that's where I was spreading the fibers apart and then just laying it down on the part that was already spun, and it kind of clings to itself. It's been really good. The wool is a 100% BFL, and it's really, really fluffy and soft, and I love it. That's all I've got for Woolly World, except for the fact that I hope next time I will have a spinning wheel to show you. I've been trying to buy a wheel from the woman that sold me the wool, but we just haven't been able to meet up because of our schedules. So hopefully Saturday I'll be getting my very first wheel, and I don't know anything. I've never used a wheel before, and I'm really excited. So yeah, that's gonna be happening sometime soon. I think that instead of buying a sewing machine, this wheel is going to be my project for while Ben's gone. Like spinning a lot, I don't know, I'm just really drawn to spinning right now. And I do want to learn to sew, but I've got a friend who said that she has an old sewing machine that she's not using, so I think what I'm gonna do is use hers and try sewing out for a while. Because I didn't want to buy this big expensive machine if I wasn't sure if I even really wanted to do it. Like, I don't know if I like it that much. I know that I want to have a sewing machine around, but I don't know. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on something that I wasn't like totally sure about, but I am totally sure that I want to keep spinning, so yeah. And I'm really excited to get it, and I'm excited to talk about it, and I'll probably have a lot of questions for all you spinners out there as I'm experimenting with that. Okay, so for fluff stuff today, this is all my like knitting and crafting related chit chat without any actual projects to show. So I'm gonna get into fluff stuff now. Like I said, I am planning on going to Rhinebeck this year, and the Rhinebeck sweater is a thing, and of course as a sweater knitter I have to knit a Rhinebeck sweater or 2 or 3 or 4 Rhinebeck sweaters. I have been going crazy trying to figure out what I want to do, because like I love knitting sweaters and garments in general, so it's like, how do I pick one special sweater for Rhinebeck? And I think I've made a decision on what I want to knit, but I also want to challenge myself and see how many sweaters I can knit before Rhinebeck. If I've got a lot of knitting time every week, I can knit a sweater in 2 weeks, depending on the sweater. So like a me-sized sweater. If it's baby sweaters, I can knit a lot more. But I counted, and there are enough weeks to knit 6 sweaters if I knit a sweater every 2 weeks. I'm not going to do that, I don't think, but I do want to try knit as much as I can, because I was going through my yarn, like I occasionally just go through it all to make sure there's no moth damage or moths in general. So I was going through all my yarn and I was realizing how many sweater quantities I have in my stash, and it is like a stupid amount. So I want to bust through all my sweater quantities, because when I find special yarn, I usually will just get a sweaters quantity, or if there's a big sale, I'll get a sweaters quantity, because I can't pass up the opportunity. And I know I'm going to want to buy a lot of special yarn at Berlin Knits and at Rhinebeck, so I'm going to try to bust through that sweater yarn stash so that I don't feel as weird about buying more sweater quantities. Yeah. Also, I'm trying to save up to go to those festivals. It's not just the shopping, but all the flights and everything. It's just a lot of money in general. So I would love to knit through my stash and get as much through my stash as I can before these festivals. Like I said, I'm really into knitting sweaters, so how do I choose the Rhinebeck sweater for me this year? And since I'm already doing my big scary knit along for Halloween, I'm going to do a Michelle Wong pattern. I think I've decided the Ondawa pullover, which is like a cropped, like heavily cabled drop shoulder pullover. It's been in my favorites for a long time, and the only reason I haven't done it is because it is only charted. The cables do not have written out directions, which really freaks me out. I have knit from a chart exactly 1 time, and I don't even remember what pattern that was, and I don't remember if I finished it. Colorwork charts are different, but like stitch charts with stitch instructions, it scares me. I don't know, it just freaks me out. But I was looking at the pictures of the sweater, and it looks like it repeats a lot, like every several rows, or every few rows, it's just the same thing over and over again. So I think that once I get through a few repeats, I'll be able to like feel really comfortable doing it. And also, since it's a cropped sweater, it's not like super daunting, it's just kind of daunting. It's still really daunting to me, but it's also, I don't know, it's really stylish, it's gonna be really warm, and it's kind of more of a like classic traditional type sweater with a really modern feel to it, and I think that that'll be perfect for Rhinebeck, because I knit a lot of Stephen West patterns, and a lot of his sweater patterns are in my favorites already, but I just kind of felt like my Rhinebeck sweater needs to be something really special, and every Stephen West pattern that I knit is really special, but since I do them all the time, I don't know, I just wanted to try something different. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I already have the yarn for it. I think once I finish this fringy Blythe sweater, I'm going to cast on the Ondawa. And I may or may not have lots of questions about chart knitting for you guys, because I'm really scared. But I do have one major question, and that is about knitting the cables themselves, because I've never done the thing where you knit the cable without a cable needle, and I don't want to knit that whole sweater with the cable needle just because it's really chunky, or not chunky, it's really clunky, and I don't like doing it, like it's not comfortable. So I want to try to knit the cables without a cable needle, and I'm wondering if my like blunt Addy tips are going to work for that. Do you find that you need a sharper needle to do cables without a cable needle? Or, you know, if like wooden needles would be better because they wouldn't slide off as easily. Just let me know if you have a preference for knitting cables in that way. I would like to get started on it in the next couple weeks. So if I could maybe, if I need to order needles, then I could do that now and then I'd be all ready to go. So yeah, let me know your own experience with that. That would be amazing. I also wanted to mention that the thing that got me the most excited about Rhinebeck was watching Christy Glass's Rhinebeck sweater video from 2016. If you haven't seen this, please go watch it. It is, I think it's just over an hour long, but watching that video was like more fun to me than watching any podcast I've seen, because she had a sign and went around Rhinebeck last year that said, "Tell me about your Rhinebeck sweater." And so you just get to kind of meet through this video all these different knitters and all their different types of sweaters, and they all have a really fun story to go with it. And it was, you know, it was over an hour long, but I wanted it to be more. But watching that video made me like freak out, and I just got on Ravelry and I could not stop looking at sweater patterns. I'll probably watch it again. It was just really fun. So I really hope she does that again this year. That's it for fluff stuff. So if you are only here for knitting talk, then I will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Just real quick, I think last episode I mentioned that I wanted to do a live video at some point. So I've decided to do the live video when we hit 1,000 subscribers, because we're not too far away, and I thought that that would be a really fun way to celebrate, and having so many amazing people subscribing, I thought it would be fun to interact with y'all in a different way. So stay tuned for that, and I will definitely make an announcement before we do that. So if you like this episode, I would really appreciate a thumbs up or a hit on the subscribe button. It really helps me out, and it helps more people find the podcast, and more people means more giveaways and knit-alongs and other fun things like that. So I'm gonna get into Block It Out now, which is my segment where I just talk about life stuff. So if you were just here for the knitting talk and crafting talk, thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you next time. So if you don't mind, I might knit a little bit while I'm talking. I'm gonna try this. It might be really distracting, but I'm gonna knit on my little socks. So Ben left a few days ago for his deployment. He's going to be gone for about 3 months, but we don't know the exact day he's coming back. So he's in a very not fun part of the world right now, but I am lucky that the time difference isn't that bad. I think it's only an hour or two, so we're still able to communicate regularly and at normal times, which I feel lucky about, because a lot of people that deploy, they're on a totally different part of the world, and it's just a lot harder for their families to get in touch with them. So I do feel really lucky about that. And I also feel lucky that it's only 3 months. He doesn't have to be gone 6 months or 12 months or more. So yeah, really lucky for that. Although it's so funny, because everybody was telling me about the deployment curse, where everything's fine, and then when your spouse or partner is deployed, all these bad things start happening. And it totally did. We lived here a whole year, and our apartment, the door on it, on the outside, it has no handle. It only has a keyhole. So you have to use the key every single time. And I'm really paranoid about getting locked out. And we've lived here a whole year, and I haven't been locked out a single time. And you can see where this is going. But literally less than 24 hours after Ben left, I locked myself out of the apartment. I was stuck in the hallway. I wasn't outside. And so the reason that happened was because on the inside of the door, you can lock the deadbolt, but if you leave the key in the inside of the door, you can't put the key in on the outside of the door all the way. So I just couldn't get the key in all the way, and so that's why I was stuck outside. I had my key and everything, but yeah, so I had to call the landlord and sit around and wait, and I was so frustrated because I'd been so careful all this time, and I did make sure I had my keys before I left, but I didn't check. I actually didn't even know that the key wouldn't go in the door if you left the key on the inside in there, because I've never left that in the door before. Anyway, that sucked. And then the next day, my car battery died. So that was really frustrating. And like, those things by themselves are not that overwhelming, but the fact that it happened 2 days in a row, and I was like really sad because Ben just left, and I don't know, it was really overwhelming. And I've jumped my car before, and it's not hard to do. I just was really overwhelmed by the fact that I had to do it, and I just kind of felt like every single day something bad was gonna happen because he's gone, and I was gonna have to deal with everything all by myself. And it's fine. I'm better now. It's fine. I started my car. I wasn't stranded. I was at home and the battery was dead, so yeah. Anyway, so that was my first week of Ben being gone, and otherwise it's been really good. I've gotten a lot of crafting done. I have not done a lot of dancing because I missed ballet because I was locked out of my apartment. I couldn't go in and get my wallet, so I couldn't go because I couldn't pay for the class. That sucked. And in the summer we only have class once a week. So not a whole lot of dancing, but since I did miss class and I felt like I'd been sitting around knitting a lot and I just really wanted to be active, I downloaded some ballet music on my Spotify, and I made a playlist for myself to do bar work. And if you've never done a ballet class, like, it has a structure for all the exercises you do at the bar. So I downloaded music for like each separate exercise, and I came up with my own combinations and everything and just did them at home. I have a railing in our loft upstairs that is almost the perfect height for a bar, so so it worked out pretty well. Yeah, but I'm excited to get back to a real class, and I had a little bit of a breakthrough dancing wise. Like, I've always hated doing turns because I'm really bad at them. Spotting, like when you do a turn, you're supposed to focus on one spot and like whip your head around quickly so you can keep your eyes on the spot as long as possible so you don't get dizzy. I'm sorry if that is like super obvious to most people, but that's really hard for me. I can keep my eyes on one spot, but once I turn around, I have trouble finding the spot again. So my turns were always really off balance, and I found out that I've been using like way too much force trying to get around. And so I just started experimenting with different things and like breaking down the different parts of the turn on my own, and I came up with my own really tedious exercises to practice turns. And I saw about 10% improvement in my pirouettes, and like now I don't hate turns anymore. Like, I still suck at them, but when you make, like, when you're kind of plateaued, you're like not inspired to work on it because you can't get any better and you just feel stuck. And so I would just never want to work on them because I never saw any improvement. But now that I've kind of like broken that barrier of not making any progress at all, I'm actually excited to work on them. And I know that my turns are still terrible, but even making like the tiniest bit of progress on them has just opened up a whole world of like possibilities, I guess, like, or just knowing that I can get better. And even if it's a really slow progress, like, I'm not stuck anymore, and that is such a relief. And so I've been working on my turns a teeny tiny bit every day. It's usually the first thing I do, like while I wait for my coffee to get ready. There's a full-length mirror in my kitchen, and so while I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, I do my little turn exercises. And yeah. So other than that, not a whole lot going on this week. I'm just trying to plan all my trips that are upcoming. Like I said, I'm gonna be in Berlin for Berlin Knits, and that is the end of September going into October. And before that, at the end of August, I'm going to meet my mom in Vichy because she is coming to do a race. So I'm gonna meet her there, and then after her race, we're gonna go to Paris and just kind of do some touristy stuff and sightseeing, all that good stuff. And yeah, that'll be about a week. And then in October, I'm going to the States. So I think I'm gonna go to Texas first to visit my family. My oldest sister is having her second baby. And so yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is go to Texas first and then fly up to Virginia where my sister is. Hi, Allison. And we're gonna drive up to Rhinebeck together. And then I will probably be flying out of New York City back to Germany after that. So yeah, I think that all these little trips are gonna help break up the time while Ben is gone and keep me occupied and excited and not sad about things. It's just the first whole month of him being gone is where I don't have any traveling plans. So I think if I can make it through this first month without getting too lonely without him, then I'll be okay. Because after this first month, I have a lot of stuff planned and a lot of projects to work on. And since it's August 1st, I may or may not be attempting to do Vlogust. So I'm just going to get a quick little video every single day. I don't think I'm gonna upload every single day, but maybe like once a week I will put that week's daily vlogs into one video and get it online. I think it's just gonna kind of be another thing to keep me busy and excited and crafting through this first month of Ben being gone. Yeah, so I think that's it for this week. So thank you so much for hanging out and having a little chat with me. Let me know if me looking down at my knitting during this section was irritating or if you didn't mind it so much. I really appreciate everybody who has subscribed or participated in one way or another. Or if you just comment and say hi, go to the Ravelry group and introduce yourself. I love getting messages from everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out again, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.